Ladies and gentlemen, New York Times, Trump campaign pushing for more debates. Pushing for four debates. Washington Post, Trump campaign makes pitch for fourth debate with the exhumed body. Amid declining poll numbers, nothing could be further from the truth. U.S. News, Trump campaign seeks more debates with Botox B. Now, this is funny. This is really funny because New York Times, January 24th, Trump may skip 2020 debates. Then December 12th, 2019, will Trump debate a Democrat in 2020? He's not so sure. Now, he's trying desperately. There's a Politico, Trump mounts campaign for more debates against the amazing and wonderful and lucid Biden. Why do you think he wants more debates? Why do you think, ladies and gentlemen, President Trump wants more debates? Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, hello. Why do you think he wants more debates? They are not going with Biden. They are going with Madam Secretary. Clinton is the only chance they have. Right now, in every poll that says that Trump is down by 14, Trump is down by 10, he's down by 11, he's down by 12, he's down by 15. When asked, who are you very enthusiastic about? There's a 30 to 40 point difference, 30 to 40 point margin. There was a CNN poll, the one where he's down 14. They asked, on the economy, who do you choose? Everyone said Trump. Almost every demographic said Trump. But among independents, President Trump was up by 14 points. So he's up by 14 points among independents. Valerie Rogers, because he knows the thing, man. Oh, Clinton will be the nominee. Yeah, you better believe that. Clinton will be the nominee. But if you're focused on that, as opposed to, that's going to be the biggest political call of all time. But if you're focused on that as opposed to President Trump defeating Biden in a landslide, I hope, let's put it this way, it would be fantastic if I was wrong. So anyone petulant enough to be like, you said Clinton would be, yeah, she's going to be nominee. If they don't do it, look, let's put it this way. My prediction is that they're going to do it at the convention. If it doesn't happen at the convention, it'll happen after the convention. There's no way they're going to throw hundreds of millions of dollars down the drain. They would have to be the most inept, incompetent political entity of all time. There's no way that Biden is going to be on that ballot across from, thank you, Eric H526. There's no way that Biden is going to be on that ballot across from President Trump. It's going to be Clinton versus Trump again, or they'll lose in a landslide. And on this channel, H.A. Goodman's other channel, and then I'll definitely be doing a lot with the formerly Bizarro World Goodman channel, which was now a Hyperbole Translator channel. And I'll do something with it. Who knows what I'll do with it. But I'll be having live streams on all three channels, and we'll be partying. And so anyone who's petulant enough to be like, I'm not going to watch you because you said Clinton was going to be nominee and Biden lost by a landslide. It's like, well, you know what? You can't be everything to all people. But I'm telling you, it ain't going to happen. They're not going to go with Biden. This is the biggest political charade of all time. And the fact that people are so confident that they are simply because the media says, the media also thought that Bloomberg, the media also thought that Bloomberg was going to be, the media also thought that Bloomberg was actually running, that he was actually running. So you can, look, let's put it this way. There's no way that any of those polls are accurate. And the reason that President Trump wants to debate Botox B again, Basement B, is because he knows that it would be, he knows that he would be completely not just overmatched. It would be like a great white shark versus a guppy. It would be like a great white shark versus a guppy. So, so there you go. There you go. It's pretty unbelievable that right now, when you look, President Trump could win Minnesota. He's not down nationally because of his response to the pandemic and his response to the wonderful and peaceful protests. Just a side note, insurance claims, one estimate is $1.4 billion in property loss throughout the country. Doesn't mean that there weren't peaceful protests. There were. Doesn't mean that it's not noble. Hey, God bless Black Lives Matter. I think that if you're protesting to save people's lives, that's great. So in many ways, what they're doing is very noble. The problem is there are people who are not, have not engaged in noble activity, who resulted in taking the life of David Dorn, a 77-year-old courageous, strong, courageous, heroic black man, police chief, police captain, who was defending the business of his friend's business at 2:30 in the morning. It's interesting, too. Can I tell you something? I have only known in my life the majority of... Okay, I'll say this. When I played football in high school, my coaches were the most... I had 3 coaches that were absolutely amazing. The most strong, noble black men, just leaders, the epitome of leaders. There were two full-time coaches on the football team out of numerous other coaches. And all the coaches were great. And then I have in my life people I've known who were just brilliant individuals, business owners, black men, business owners, talented, strong, like growing up and in my life, I've never known, I never looked at any person of any background as, I never looked at anyone and said, God, I feel sorry for you. That never happened to me. Because maybe I lived in a different time, in a different world, maybe before 2015, 2016. That doesn't mean to say that I don't know my own history. I don't know the history of other people. I know the history of Japanese Americans. And that was FDR who did that. I know the history of my own history as a Jewish person. I know the history of African American and black citizens of this country. That doesn't mean that you look at history and say, okay, because of this, you abide by today's left-leaning philosophy on things. It's interesting. I can't really get into it, but like on the live stream, I've only known like people of all different ethnicities, backgrounds. Maybe it's the people I've associated myself with or had the pleasure and the opportunity of meeting. But pretty much people that I've known, obviously it's not across the board of any background. But people I've known of all backgrounds, different backgrounds, have been very strong, very intelligent, very capable individuals. It's interesting how I have. In fact, How the Other Half Lives by Jacob Riis, that's really interesting about Irish and Jewish immigrants. How the Other Half Lives, Jacob Riis. Everyone should read that. Great muckraker, great journalist. But it's interesting that this philosophy nowadays, the left-leaning philosophy, it's condescending and it's arrogant because it only benefits the Democratic Party, but it's very condescending. It's not, and actually the goal of it, I'm speaking in roundabout terms, but it's very condescending to have public service announcements that Jericho Green has subscribe to Jericho Green. He's fantastic. He has some great segments one great segment in particular on the public service announcements from Hollywood. But anyway, I am getting off track. I have to speak in kind of roundabout terms just because I don't usually touch on all these different types of issues, but it's interesting, you have to wonder, when Democrats and media and Hollywood obsess over a topic, how long did it take from paranoia and concern and hysteria and obsession and endless headlines regarding the pandemic to now obsession over today's topics? And that prior to this was an apoplectic, hysterical, seething, fuming, rabid, singular focus on Russia. So they spent 3 years focusing primarily on Russian interference, and then they want everyone to believe that they really care about these grandiose, pressing issues and horrible aspects of the history of our country. They want everyone to believe that suddenly that they're the political party that needs to that must be supported if you want to prevent all these things. So Valerie Rogers, thank you. So it's interesting. It's interesting because you have President Trump who wants, it's not going to be Clinton. I mean, it's not going to be Biden. It's going to be Hillary Clinton. How it happens, I don't know. I'm expecting it to happen at the convention. If it doesn't happen at the convention, it'll happen after, but I don't see why they would waste that opportunity. They would have to be the most inept, incompetent, and irresponsible political party of all time not to go with Clinton. And I'm not a fan. Not a fan. But you have a President Trump, who's on pace to win. But there's no way that Biden can come close. The polls, the only reason that Biden is up on polls is because they've added 2 questions that have nothing to do with traditional voting. Then they ask more Democrats than Republicans on average, and then the Republicans they ask are rhinos or never Trumpers. So the polls are absolute nonsense and garbage, and they're not scientific. The laws of physics, that's science. This is not. This isn't even. if you take a statistics course, this doesn't reflect public opinion at all. It doesn't reflect public opinion at all. You don't get 1,000-boat flotilla when Botox B would get wouldn't even get a drifting piece of plywood in the water, or drifting plywood, or kelp, seaweed for Biden. He wouldn't even get one little dinghy boat. He wouldn't get anything. Debris, nothing. You wouldn't, You got 1,000-boat flotilla in Florida. 1,000-boat flotilla. And you then say, well, that's just anecdotal. So what if 1,000 boats? They're all Republican. All right. You had close to 1 million people in Oklahoma. So what? It's a red state. Okay. You could probably get hundreds of thousands of people in New York and California. Would the former vice president would he even be able to fill a library? That's a question. Would he be able to fill a library? I don't think so. Would you pay $10 to hear Biden speak about anything? I don't think so. So the media is now an extension. There shouldn't even be a debate. The media is an extension of the Democratic Party. I mean, really, an extension. I mean, it's like you have to ask yourself, does this mayhem, chaos, this apoplectic media coverage, and by the way, again, I'm not going to get into it on the live stream, but they yet again tried to say that a campaign ad utilized imagery that was, okay, number one, that is actually the logo of certain groups. That actually is the logo of certain groups. You can actually look that up. Tim Pool has found that logo. I've looked, and I can tell you that it's like a 2-second Google search. You can find that same logo. And then secondly, what they do is they create these absurd correlations, and the insinuation is that, Trump is speaking to these horrible people. Of course, I'm speaking in roundabout terms, but that's the latest obsession of the day, and tomorrow will be a new obsession. But they're not going to win voters this way. Biden is not going to be the nominee. He is a placeholder for Clinton. And when it happens, it'll be the biggest political call of all time. And I'm on record from 2017. President Trump's going to go 8 years. He's going to go 8 years. So, and there's nothing they can do to stop it. The only thing they can do is try to divide society even further. The only thing they could do is make it so uncomfortable for anyone voting for Trump that when President Trump goes 8 years, they can say, "Oh my God, it was this reason, it was that reason. Look at the polls. The polls were they're saying that Democrats were up." You best believe when Clinton runs and she becomes nominee, and she's opposite Trump on that ballot, they'll say that she's up by 3% or 4% or whatever a day before. Then when Democrats lose and Clinton loses again, they'll say Trump cheated. They'll go to voter suppression. They have the litany of excuses. They will never look in the mirror and say, okay, they don't stand for anything. They don't stand for Medicare for all. They don't stand for removing Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts, which is what President Trump is doing. He signed a peace deal, an historic peace deal, by the way, to get us out of our longest-running military conflict in late February, early March. Yes, there's tension between North and South Korea, but at least he was the first president to begin détente, to begin communication. It's not that doesn't mean instant peace. But see, again, if you're petulant, they went from, oh, yeah, the meeting's not going to happen, to, oh, it was a photo op, to, oh, now, nothing even happened. Look, there's tensions now. And then when tensions subside, because they have a better chance of subsiding now because détente was already achieved than before, then they'll forget about it and say, oh, well, you know what, whatever. They're just petulant. If you're disingenuous and you're petulant, thank you, Neo Bootsonius, thank you. If you're disingenuous and you're petulant, you can't really run on, if you're disingenuous and petulant, you can't run on, well, we're better than Trump. That's all they're doing. That's all they're saying. First of all, Biden is nowhere to be found because they're hiding him. Why do you think they're hiding him? He's not going to be nominee. And if they waste the opportunity, he still won't be on that ballot because it's the 18th Amendment was ratified 100 years ago. On when it's August 18th, 2020, that'll be the centennial of the 19th Amendment. Okay. So giving women the right to vote. They're not going to waste that opportunity on Biden. The whole thing has been a charade. How it happens, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I'm literally now the only person. So when people say, now like we're in the home stretch, Democrats know they can't win with Biden. So it's just a matter of time. And I am the only person, ladies and gentlemen, the only person who is giving you the most accurate call of this election, just like in 2015, NPR quoted me. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, my articles, archive them. Go to the Wayback Internet Archive, archive all, like that's what I've been doing, archive all the articles I've written. I mean, if you're interested, I'm not telling people to do so. I'm telling if you find that interesting, or you have time on your hands or whatever, if you would find it amusing to do, but not that I'm at risk of having anything pulled or whatever. I'm just saying it is important. It is important in this day and age. But if you go to 270 to win, and I'll be doing this every day because it's fun. Go to 270 to win. Why would they say that he's down in Iowa? How does the Green New Deal help Iowa? How does the Green New Deal help farmers? How does the Green New Deal help people in the Midwest? I want to know this. Because notice that they pander and then they forget about what they pandered about. And if they go back to it, like they're not talking about the Green New Deal because they know it's going to lose Pennsylvania instantly. And Ohio and Michigan. But you look at if he wins Minnesota, he almost won Minnesota. It was like 40,000 votes. And they outspent Trump 2-1. And they had media. Just as apoplectic as 2016. So, like, how are they going to win this election? I want to know. I want to know how they win this election. I have no clue. So they add questions about the pandemic and recent protests. And then they say, do you approve of Trump's reaction or his handling? Well, that's a loaded question. Most people, 80% of Americans oppose property loss and damage. So, and then so does Trump. So when they say, well, do you agree with his handling? He's evoked sentiments or made statements that they find offensive, but they find his statements more offensive than the 1.4 billion in property loss and 10,000 arrests nationwide. So, most of the protests were very peaceful. That's true. But that doesn't mean that there was a tremendous amount of chaos. There wasn't a tremendous amount of chaos, mayhem, and a tremendous amount of violence. There was. That's why we had curfews every night. That's why you had curfews every single night. So he won the Electoral College last election. They have to win the Electoral College again. Okay, it doesn't matter, first of all. Let's say Trump is down 14 points. First of all, he's not, but let's say he is. It still doesn't address the Electoral College, so they're doing the same things over again. They're making the same mistakes over again because they're not addressing what they have. They're not focusing on what they have to focus on, which is they have to focus on states. And if you look, there's a really great there was a Morning Consult favorability poll by state. And you have to also, ladies and gentlemen, the more chaos, the more mayhem, the more people taking over city blocks, the more civil unrest, people will gravitate towards President Trump. If you had a certain percentage of voters who didn't tell pollsters that they're voting for Trump, you can probably double that percentage. Then you have President Trump doing better among Latino and Hispanic voters. Then you have independents leaning to Trump on the economy. Then you have the economy being the most important issue because we've had a self-induced depression that led to 30 to 40 million people unemployed. Then you had the very peaceful protests that led to even more businesses being burnt to the ground or actually destroyed. And so people are not going to vote on President Trump's words or his demeanor or how he drinks water, or because they're very petulant. They try to make their entire lives are predicated upon paving the way for Madam Secretary. You're talking about Basement B's ads have they actually have subtitles. They actually have subtitles. So you can't really take that campaign seriously. But Minnesota, if Trump gets Minnesota, he still wins, even if they win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Okay? If Trump gets Minnesota, he still wins. All right? Let's say, for example, let's say they get Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If he wins Nevada and New Mexico, he still wins also. So Nevada, he's actually close in. He's doing actually all right in Nevada. What's Nevada's? He's the one who has, and he'll win Iowa, I know. He's the one who has a solid Electoral College lead. They said that about Clinton. So Clinton won by 47.9% to 45.5%. Check this out, okay? This is interesting. And he won most of the counties. President Trump won most of the counties, just like he did in Minnesota. if you look, they were separated by like 27,000 votes in Nevada. Okay? They were separated by 27,000 votes in Nevada. And I would like to know how many votes Gary Johnson got, because I have a feeling, Gary Johnson got 37,000 votes. I do not know. I have no idea. Democrats are going to lose miserably. It could be close. The cheating is an issue, but if you take Gary Johnson out of the mix, Trump, not only did Clinton outspend Trump 2-1, not only was Gary Johnson taking votes away from Trump, because you're not going to find libertarians voting for Clinton. That ain't happening. And you might get some libertarians who aren't going to vote for Trump, but the majority of Gary Johnson voters or libertarian voters will vote for Trump. Because the alternative is the Democratic Party that's embraced a whole lot of things lately just to pander. So you have, and then you had like a whole bunch of other candidates that took, but he could win Nevada because he's close in Nevada. He's only like, they say Biden's only up by 4. So they're not looking at all of these states. They are not looking at all of these states. If you don't have the Libertarian Party and Gary Johnson in 2020 taking votes away from Trump, because the third party issue was they tried to they played up every single reason they could muster up to explain why they lost, but they never give you reasons why President Trump didn't get the popular vote. He could have gotten the popular vote and could have had an even wider electoral college lead. So, I mean, it's like, I do not see, I called the 2016 election in 2015. You can't be perfect. I'm not perfect on everything, but I said Clinton would lose. Nobody was saying that. On the left, I should say. Nobody on the left was saying that. Nobody on the left. They were just as confident as they are now. I said the confidence was off. I said they shouldn't have been. They were deceiving themselves. If you win Nevada, you win Minnesota. If you win, okay, so you go to 2016 actual. Let's say you get Minnesota and Nevada. You can get Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and even lose Iowa and still win. So, because I don't think that they're not going to get Ohio and they're not going to get Florida. They're not getting Ohio and they're not going to get Florida. Okay? Ohio actually has the favorability ratings. Florida and Ohio, the Morning Consult poll showed pretty good in terms of President Trump, how they view President Trump. Pretty good. So, I don't see how they're gonna, right now you look and you say they say, well, Trump's on the ropes. He's not on the ropes at all. He's not on the ropes at all. Joe Biden winning female voters by historic margin. Why? How does that work with, I guess, media's effort to completely ignore Tara Reade's allegations? I mean, this is why you have a Democratic Party, Hollywood, and media that is so disingenuous and duplicitous. They were not just apoplectic. Find a word with Kavanaugh. And then with Biden, it's like crickets and then trying to actively silence his female accuser. So there you go. But I don't think that he's going to win the female vote. There's nothing inspiring about Biden. He looks like an exhumed body. And, like, it's just this. So, this is interesting. Imagine if they had treated So, he has a 25-point margin among women. I don't think so. I don't think Biden has a 25-point margin. I think that's nonsense. So, that would be 12 points more than Clinton had. This is what this CNN article is saying. For what reason? I want to know why. What is it about Biden? What has he said or done? But the article doesn't really say that, doesn't explain. Everyone is saying how Biden has this advantage. Why? Aside from simply putting a number and a poll saying, why? Can I get one reason why? Because women like people who look like exhumed bodies? What? I don't understand. Where is this? Okay, the one accurate poll, which is like any poll that shows that there's like softening support or less support than Clinton had, because he's not outspending Trump. His ad is horrendous. There was an ad he came out with today, completely horrendous. When he's pressed to answer any question, it's like an abomination. So I don't know, like, what is the issue? What is the issue? Right now, he could win Nevada. You take out Gary Johnson, he could win Nevada. You take out Gary Johnson from Minnesota. So 2016 Minnesota election results. Gary Johnson had 112,000 votes. Are you kidding me? In Minnesota? And then Trump only lost by 40,000 votes. He only lost by 40, and Jill Stein got 36,000 votes. So you can add Jill Stein to Clinton, and she still wouldn't win if you took out Gary Johnson. And again, there's a greater percentage of libertarians who are voting for Trump than Green Party people voting for Clinton or Biden. That is a definite. People say, well, Jill Stein took voters away from Clinton. Like, no, she didn't. Green Party voters aren't voting Democrat. That's why they're Green Party voters. They would rather sit it out. They'd rather have Trump. Much rather have President Trump, most Green Party voters, than Clinton. They might not tell you that, but I think that's the case. And if you notice that all the pundits that are talking about Medicare for all, they're not voting for, they're not voting Green Party. Why is that? Because the Green Party actually is giving them exactly what they want, foreign policy-wise. I mean, they're obsessing over one country. We don't have to get into it. So I'm looking at Nevada and Minnesota. In Minnesota, President Trump won by around 40,000 votes. I mean, Clinton won by 40,000 votes, and Gary Johnson took 112,000 votes. Okay. In Nevada, in 2016, and that was in 2016, Nevada, Clinton wins by 20,000 votes, and Gary Johnson takes 37,000 votes. And you have like casinos, they want to open up, and guess who's telling them, you shouldn't, all that stuff. Or they have opened up. So Nevada, I don't think, is going to go. I mean, the urban centers, cities, are supposed to vote Democrat by such a wide margin that Clinton will get the popular vote again. No, she might not even get the popular vote. She might not even get the popular vote. So, I don't think Democrats are going to... There's a good chance that they don't get the popular vote. Mitchell Smith! The left does not want the rallies. That was obvious today. And she was hilarious at that question and answer event. They don't want Mitchell Smith. They don't want the rallies because they don't want life. If they can look and say, okay, we'll never be back to normal. The only way you can have life back to normal is if, and here we go. Clinton says Biden campaign must address Russian interference. They're still at it. There is no way. If they go with Biden, I mean, because Clinton has a chance. She would have a chance to win, not a very good chance, but Biden has no chance. This is why, things have gotten so nuts that ordinarily, I'd be kind of sweating, gosh, I made this prediction, but I'm actually fine. If they go with Biden, Trump wins in a landslide and the popular vote. So when people party at, when I have my live streams and it ain't going to be Biden, it's going to be Clinton, because they wouldn't do that. They're not that inept. And it's a political machine run by both Clintons. The only chance they have is Hillary Clinton. That's the only chance they have. But think of the alternative. Let's say they actually do go with Biden because it was a very fair primary. They would lose the popular vote. They would not get the popular vote. People are not going to take time off of work to go vote for Biden. Number one. Number two, has he committed to the debates? Because it would be an absolute catastrophe for Democrats to have Biden in the debate. An absolute catastrophe. Even if, because, you're not talking about Bernie Sanders versus Biden. Bernie, he was lucid then. When he was going up against Bernie was just taking one for the team. That's what Bernie Sanders was about, just taking one for the team, talking about Medicare for all until you had to rally around Biden, who would actually veto Medicare for all. So you have to wonder what Bernie Sanders was there for. Just even in 2016, you look back wow, this man deceived so many people. It's unbelievable. And it's funny because people tried to insult me, said I was a grifter. No, I wasn't a grifter. I didn't rake in the dough like some other people who shall remain nameless in venture capital funding. Millions in venture capital. But you yell Medicare for all for 4 years and then you forget about it 4 months before the election, kind of says something. Maybe they weren't serious about it. Maybe they were just using it to fabricate enthusiasm. But this is today. That's why I know I'm telling you Clinton is going to be nominee. It is not going to be Biden. There is no way Democrats go with Biden. They would have to be the most inept, incompetent political party of all time. Furthermore, nothing that happened in this primary was in any way, shape, or form fair or neutral or normal. Clinton says Biden campaign must address Russian interference. This is June 18th, ladies and gentlemen. They're still at it. 2020. They're still at it. Former Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has said Russian interference and disinformation will impact the upcoming election. How will it impact? They don't even know how. They've never explained how many voters altered their votes because of disinformation. One reason you know Clinton's going to be nominated is she's the most vocal. Biden's not vocal. He doesn't say anything. But he could win Minnesota. He could win Nevada. They're not going to win the election. That is also, Democrats will not win. They had an opportunity. If Clinton had simply come out of the shadows and stopped with the charade with Biden, because you remember, they can go and they can try to blame Trump for every issue. Half of all the lives lost in the pandemic are in 4 to 5 Democratic-run states. If you go to the New York Times, you could see that. Those are run by Democratic governors in Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Michigan, Illinois, Pennsylvania. Democratic governors, 3 or 4 of them can be labeled Democratic machines in terms of their politics in the state. So, James, hello. So yeah, you look at everything going on. They're not running on anything. Then they say, okay, well, President Trump has had setbacks in the Supreme Court. Then they call him an authoritarian and a monster and a madman. It's like, well, how many authoritarians in history have had courts prevent them from engaging in certain political objectives? You can't revel at the Supreme Court blocking President Trump and then say, "Oh my God, he's this authoritarian." Well, which one is it? He's an authoritarian madman who just happens to be, have to abide by the Supreme Court. How does that work? But again, they don't have, like, it's only emotion. They only have emotion. That's it. They're only about emotion. That's it. So, Christopher! Democrats only care about voices when they are left-leaning, yet constantly try to cancel Candace Owens and Kanye. Exactly. Exactly, Christopher. Exactly. They want diverse, they enjoy people of all backgrounds only if the viewpoint correlates with their own. That's the same, Christopher. That's the same vantage point they have with government. They think government is fantastic unless it's run by Trump. Then the executive branch under President Obama was fantastic, except when it was Trump, then it wasn't. Then everything was an abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. The Attorney General, when it was Eric Holder or Attorney General Loretta Lynch, it was fantastic, great. Completely autonomous. When she met with Bill Clinton to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren, it was historically autonomous. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So, yeah, no, I agree with you. Christopher, thank you. They're not going to go with Biden. It's going to be the biggest political call of all time. I don't know how it's going to go down. They're just waiting. They got all of June. They got all of July. They come into August, and it's going to be a rude awakening when they have to go with an exhumed body. And it's like Tales from the Crypt. And what could be more inspiring than seeing a cadaver, talk about how bad Trump is? At least, like with Trump, he's orange, but like there's some kind of healthy glow there. That's why he has all that orange. It's like subliminally, like is he hot? Oh, well, there must be blood pumping. Yeah. The squinting from Botox B, the squinting, that doesn't really work. They have him squint in every John, hello. Daniel, hello. The most hilarious part of all of this is that I don't know how it's going to happen, but there's no way that they're going to go with Biden on that ballot. And I don't think my prediction is that at the convention, it's going to be Clinton. She'll be nominated. They'll find some reason, somehow, who knows how. But it ain't going to be Biden. But if they really want to tank their chances, because they have a chance. Trump's going to go 8 years, and I said that in 2017. Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. But if you look, ladies and gentlemen, at everything that's taken place, you have a situation where they're trying to fabricate public opinion. They're trying to shape public opinion. They're not trying to reflect public opinion. The polls don't reflect public opinion. Media simply blaming Trump for everything doesn't mean that people believe it, number one. And number two, if you use basic logic, the pandemic is not Trump's fault because he's not governor. He's not a governor of states. The governors of these states have the most authority in tackling any pandemic. So let's just look Trump here. Oh my God. Now you have social media going after Trump, and it's like they're not really. This is hilarious. So when they lose again, you have to ask yourself, how on earth are they going to explain or justify another loss? How? How? What are they going to do? What are they going to say this time? What on earth are they going to say this time? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back probably like around 9, probably 9:30 or so. A little earlier. Thank you so very much, people, to my super chat. Thank you. Be here, ladies and gentlemen, about 9:30. I will be back. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Be here in about 2 hours or so, people. And I will see you all very soon. To my super chat, thank you. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. Ladies and gentlemen, have no fear. President Trump is going to win again. He'll go 8 years. NPR quoted me in 2015 saying Clinton was unelectable. She still is. She'll be the nominee. It ain't going to be Biden. There is no way it's going to be Biden. 9:30 Pacific. Agent Pepsi, 9:30 Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, Agent Pepsi, Mitchell, Eric H526, Luke St. Martin. Thanks, everybody.